My dishwasher is broken. So let's do a watch review. Now here's a G-SHOCK series I've been wanting to review for a very long time. It was originally named Extreme, and here's a few snapshots stolen from eBay, as no permission is needed. The name was replaced, but it's not really tickling my sales, until later in this video. G-LIDE. Well, that's how I read it, but it's actually called Glide. Yes, sounds like a 70s Eurovision song, hey? Okay, enough of the jabber. Let me explain why the new name. Think of Glide with regards to skiing, surfing, and skateboarding. Now we're getting there, and for the surfing, it features tide and moon. I initially thought the name was a play on word with regards to Lide, with the L meaning lunar and the Ide being tide. Yeah, that took some imagination. Now my question, what's white and red all over? Enough of digging for jokes, let's get on with it. This is the GLX 5600. Now, GLX, what does that stand for? I think it stands for Glide Extreme. So why have I chosen the GLX to review? Well, big reason, and it is a big reason, is because my Rangeman is just a little bit too fat for everyday use, and I find the square G-SHOCKs are just so much more practical in a daily sense. And the other reason is because I'm really fascinated by this bezel here, this part right here. This has Geneva lines. I like that. Now, on the red version, it also has the lines, but they're not so dominant. Whereas on the silver version here, this is really popping with that sunburst. Look at that, really catching it under the lights there. I also like the sort of 3D-ish design here, showing the tide and the moon phase. I also like that it shows the day of the week in 3-letter format. And I like the very stealthiness of it being all black and white. Now, am I a fan of the white bezel and the strap? Well, not particular, but I have to say it does have that sort of stormtrooper look. And it's the only watch I have that's white on the outside instead of having it white just on the dial. Now you're probably fed up seeing this square all the time, so I don't really need to go into too much detail about that, and with regards to the back case and all the strap and buckle and all the other things and the tiny little buttons. We forgive this. It's about the practical side of this actual design of this watch. It's just very simple. It doesn't catch on anything, and you can hide it under your sleeve. It's got that 200 meters of water resistant. It's shock protected. What else do you need? Well, this particular G-SHOCK has some unusual features. Now, comparing this to, say, what I have on this one here, this is a DW5700. Yes, it's a little bit modified, but this one here has your, yes, it has the time, it has the date, and it has the daily alarm, the timer, and the stopwatch. Whereas this square offers the tide and moon, but it also has a few quirks up its sleeve, and this is something that I really need to have hands on myself, so I can show you guys. And maybe it's a piece that you've seen and you just scroll past, but you haven't really stopped to look at it any longer. So let me just show you a little bit more detail in that dial so you can really see where I got my attraction from. Did I just say dial? I meant display. Okay, going in with a little bit more macro. I just want to point out that the top part here, the actual colouring of the tide is in a very light blue, and on the red version it's in salmon pink. The tide part of the LCD is broken down into different segments. Now each of these is 3 here, and you can see this by the low side here by the 3 segments. Now this doesn't move, this is fixed, so it's only the LCD that actually moves. The moon part here is broken into 4 little segments, and you can see that is 3 coming up to sort of a new moon. Now, I like that the date here, the day of the week, that is in a dot matrix format, and then you have the standard format that I don't need to really go into too much detail. Then you have your toolbar at the bottom here with your alarm signal, snooze, and you get the auto light and mute. Now I'm really catching the Geneva stripes there. Look at that. That is the side that really does get me. Now I'm thinking of putting this on a full stainless steel bezel and bracelet. What do you think about that? Well, it's only in thought at the moment. Anyway, so the rest of the print on the outside is all done in white, including the shock resistant there. And then on the inside, it's with the black font. And then it has the nice little bit of detail with a thin sort of line going around. And on the outer edge is a silver edging. It sort of just really breaks it down and shows that they've actually put a little bit of design effort into it. Trying to pick up the Geneva stripes on the red there, and you can just about sort of pick it up. It's not so sort of clear as it is on the silver version, and where it would have been black on the font on the inner side, it's now all in white. And I do like it. I do like it. Do I like the red one? Now, do I prefer the red version? No, I like the red version. Really going in a bit closer here, notice that there is some red detailing on the edge there, and along the bottom with those little dots. That's all in sort of a reddish colour. Now the red one is borrowed from our good buddy the watchmaker. I didn't realise he had one of these. I was so excited when I went around to show him this, and then he pulled out the red version. So I thought it would be nice to have them both together. Now look at the design they have on this strap. Very sort of surfboard like, isn't it? And it goes all the way around. And then the keeper there is just a little bit of an odd colour because it doesn't match the colour of the actual main colour on the strap and the bezel. So I guess that is resin and this is more sort of rubber. The watch is made in Thailand. Hang on, let me just correct that. But the buckle is made in Japan. On the white version, the case is in white, and on the red version, it's in black. So next, I want to go a little bit more into details about the function of it all and give you one of my good old tutorials with a timestamp description in the description. I'm sort of repeating myself, so let's just get on with it and show you what all this can do. Well, this is the home screen, and in home screen you have the light up here. And let me just explain that I'm going to call these buttons A, B, C and D. I might refer them to adjust, light, mode and select. So don't get too confused because I will use the aid of my finger to point to what I'm actually doing. So picking up where I left off, pressing button B, the light button there, gives you that kind of backlight there for a few moments. Look how gorgeous that looks. Now you can also give a long press and it will have the auto light function, and it will give you a little icon down there in the little toolbar. So when you flip your wrist, you will have auto light. And when the battery gets low and you want to turn this off, then I would just press this again for a few more seconds and this turns it off. Now, not being solar powered, this will work every time you flip your wrist, whether it's dark or daytime. So have that to mind. Pressing button D while in home time will flip from 24 hours to AM and PM. And when it's in AM and PM, you'll have a little P. Well, it's not that exciting. And if you press it again, it goes back to the 24 hours. And note that it does make a little chirp when you do that. Next, I want to show you the test screen. So pressing adjust, select, and the mode button together, trying to get this all timed perfectly for you. You will have a display with all the segments like that. And then by pressing button D, I can flip through a few of them. Look at that jumbled up. And then it goes back to this number here. And then it goes back to home time. Next, I want to take you through the adjustment. So by a long press of a few seconds, it comes up with the flashing seconds at the bottom here. And then it has this icon here. Now I thought that was a gear icon like you would have on, say, the settings of your phone, but this isn't. This is to adjust the backlight. And by pressing the light button up here, you can see that it reduces to that. And if I press again, it gets bigger. Now, when it's small, that is the duration of about 1.5 seconds. And when it's on big, it is 3 seconds. So from here, I can press the button D here and reset the seconds like this. Boom. And once it reaches over the 30 part on the seconds, it will notch the minute on that side. You saw it jump from 49 straight to 50. Now you can press mode, and this will go on to daylight saving time. And here, using button D, I can select either off or I can have it on. And when it's on, you actually do have the daylight saving little icon there, and this will be shown in the home screen. At the moment, we are in the winter months, so it is daylight saving off. Next, from the mode, is the UTC time. So this is basically your city code, and where we are still on the winter time, there is no difference from UTC, but you can use the select button here, button D, and you can use the light button to go backwards. So don't set this during the night because you won't be able to use the backlight, just to sort of show you. And also I like to show that it does do the half minutes as well. So let's go back to 0 and have that correct. So pressing the mode button, from there I can now adjust the hours. Now note that when the first part of the adjustment, this was to adjust the sort of daylight saving and to the seconds. Now this is more important than actually adjusting the hours, because you're really not going to adjust the hours that often, especially if you're in your home city. So from here, it's using the buttons here, B and D. You can go up or down like so. And then this carries on to the minutes, doing the same with the adjustments on this side. Then you have the year, goes up to 2099. Then you have the month, you have the date, press in again, very small buttons. You have this one called LT. Now, this is one of the quirks, and I will come back to that, so remember that screen. And I press again, then it goes back to the flashing seconds. Now, if I press the adjust button, I now have the longitude setting. Now, this is to do with your moon phase. So here you can adjust up and down, like so. And that is 51, that's where I am. Now, if I push the mode button, I can now change it from easterly to westerly, like so. Then pressing again, you have this one. Now this is all part of the tide, and I will come back to this when I show you the tide, which is in a moment. Anyway, so from here, pressing the mode, it goes through like that and just cycles back through those two. Then pressing the adjust button will take you back to home time. Okay, let's get into the meat of it and press the mode button. And before I do that, I just want to tell you that there is some animation up on the tide here. Now it will scroll past twice, and also the moon will have a little bit of animation as well. So let's just sort of quickly go through all the modes so you can see it all working and what actually the watch is full of. So the first one is tide, and you see the animation. Well, let's do it again. It goes to world time, then you have the stopwatch, you have a timer, you have the alarm side, and then you have home time. That is really, really neat. I do like that little bit of detail. So let's go into the mode again. So pressing the first mode, and it's tide. I don't know why it always starts off at 6 o'clock. Anyway, you can press button D here and scroll through the hours, and it will cover all 24 hours. And you can see that the tide graph is shifting. Now, if I press the button B there, it does nothing. So you can only go forwards like that. Anyway, it is absolutely rubbish because I haven't set it up properly. So what I need to do, or if you've got the watch, this is what you need to do. Go into the adjustment from home time and then pressing the adjust again while the seconds are flashing. You remember that screen? Go in there, and then you have this setting here. Now, what I would do before you go to anywhere where it's near tidal is to set this up. And what you're looking for is the low tide. So you look in your local newspaper or on the internet and you select whatever the low tide is. And say in this case, I'm just going to do something very random and say at 1 o'clock, and using the mode button, I can shift to the minutes and say, I don't know, it's 1:05. There we go. That is going to be the low tide. So if I press the adjust, it takes me back out. Note that this has now shifted from the low tide. It's now gone there. So that is now more accurate. So if I go into the tide, now that is also just shifted. So at 1 o'clock, that should be the low tide. And there it is, absolutely spot on. Now it's very important to actually set these watches on the day when you are by the tides. I wouldn't rely solely just on the watch, knowing that this will carry on to the next time you go. Now there is some adjustment here as well, but I'm just going to show you one thing. If I press the adjustment here, I do flip over to the moon side, and this gives me the age of the moon, which is 27 days, and it measures up to 29 and a half a day or something like this. And then you'll have the little moon icon there, and then pressing the adjust button takes you back like so. Now there is the skipping side, where if I do a long press, I can now change the year, a particular year. I can also go to a particular date and month as well, so I can mess around here and then adjust that like so. I can also go backwards like that. So we've got a date like this, and I press the adjust, and now look at the moon phase now is completely changed, and this will work also on the tide side as well, so try not to get that sort of confused. And when you come back out, just going all the way back to home time and then back into the tide, and note that the date will correct itself to whatever the date is on the day. So when it's in the moon phase, if you press the button D here, it will skip through the days. Look at that. So it's going through the days. And also, don't get distracted with me pushing buttons. Look at the moon phase there. Look at it change. You see it moving? And you can also leave your finger pressed and it will just zap through like this. And this also works when you're adjusting as well. Now you can't go backwards using button B. You can only go forward. So when you want to sort of come out of that, you go back into the home time and then go into tide. And note that the date has reset itself. So that is all you have on that side. So from tide and moon, pressing the mode button, it is the world time. Now it has 48 cities and 29 time zones. At the moment that is set on Rome. Using the button D here, you can go easterly. Now you can't go backwards, just to sort of let you know. And there's also no reset back to UTC. I've tried pushing both buttons and it doesn't do that. Usually when you press these two adjustment buttons, it sort of zeroes off to UTC, but in this case it doesn't. So I'm just going to sort of go through and just sort of give you an idea what's in there. Like that. Also, you can press the adjust button and this will switch on the daylight saving time, and you can do this individually to each city code, and you can see there it's come on, and then by pressing the adjust it switches it off. So from world time, pressing mode takes us to the stopwatch. Now this is a 24-hour stopwatch and nice and simple. Start stop is button D, like that, with a chirp. You have 1/100th of a second, you have the seconds, the minutes and the hours, and also you have the flashing icons there. So that's kind of easy. Then you can stop it like that. Pressing the adjust button A will reset it like that. Also it does have the split as well. Pressing the adjust while it's running, it actually comes up with the split SPL, and note that the little icons there are still flashing, so you can actually take 2 split times. So if I was to stop that now, the icons stop flashing. So that's your first split time, then pressing the adjust gives you your second time, and then pressing for the last time resets it. So that is the... No, it's not, because now I'm going to show you a little quirk this does. Now I wasn't expecting it to have this. Pressing the adjustment while it's all zeroed out, you have this. Now this is a countdown for 5 seconds. Check this out when I press start. Oh, how cool is that? Now, it also does some other things as well. Just want to sort of cover this. Now, note when it gets to 3 seconds, it starts the final beeping. Now, if you want the countdown, but suddenly, whatever it is, your timing quickly starts and you want to sort of start it and boycott it, you can do this. So if I just did this, while it's counting down, if I press again, it will automatically start the stopwatch. So you do have that side as well. And then when you stop it and reset it, it always leaves it in that sort of mode there. Now from stopwatch, next mode is the timer. Now this is a 24-hour timer, and this is measuring the seconds, the minutes and the hours, and it has a big arrow there. Well, I shall come back to that in a moment. Again, using the same button for stopwatch, using that as start, makes a little chirp. Now, if you start it on all the zeros, it will go straight into the 24-hour countdown, like so. So we just stop that, and then using the adjust button to reset it. Pressing the adjust button when it's all showing the zeros for a few seconds, you can now adjust the hours using the buttons here, and you can go up and down. As mentioned, if you want to adjust this at night, you lose your backlight. Unless you put it on auto light, then you can flip your wrist. Oh, there's a way out of it. Now, pressing the mode, you can go to the minutes, adjust it to 1 minute, but you can't adjust the seconds. It goes straight to this arrow. Well, let me just sort of come out of this because I'm going to show you what that little quirk is. So at the moment, if I start the timer now, this will count down the minute. And what this arrow means, this means that it's just a one-off timer. So once the timer goes off, and when it comes to the end, it will go off for 10 seconds, and then it's finished. That's it. Let's give you a little demonstration of what this sounds like. And this will be audible for 10 seconds, and you can just push any button and it will cancel this. Like that, and then it resets itself to 1 minute again. If I go back into the adjustment, I'm going to leave it on the minute there. So if I go through the mode button there and select it, and then it has this arrow here. Now if I push button D, I get the mouth with the ugly teeth. No, what this is a repeat timer. So now it will repeat up to 8 times, and it will sound for every, well, whatever you have it for. So if I've got it set for 1 minute and I start that, that will sound for 8 minutes, if that makes sense. So if I press the adjustment here and then start it, you'll see how this works. So let's fast forward. It will sound for 10 seconds, but note that it's reset to the 1 minute. As I mentioned, this will repeat it 8 times. Or until you've had enough and you can stop it sort of manually. Like that. And then it's just a matter of reset. Now, I've just noticed a little detail. Notice that the moon is showing, but when I go into the adjustment, the moon disappears. The moon, now you see that flashing. If I push the mode button again, you have this option. Now this is for a countdown alarm on the timer. I know. I think I'm just going to have to give you a demonstration because sort of explaining it's going to take too long, and you also will get bored. And using the button D, I can adjust this either on or off. So let's turn it on and show you what happens. Now, if I have the timer on, say, 30 minutes, when it gets down to 5 minutes, it will make a little chirp. And this will do this for every minute till you get to a minute, making a chirp. And then when it gets to 30 seconds, it will make a chirp. And then it does a special countdown when it gets to the last 10 seconds. Now, I think I just need to show you a little demonstration. I'm not going to run through all the minutes, but I'm just going to let you know that when it gets to the last minute, it makes a little chirp. And then we're going to start it. So when it gets to 30 seconds, it will make a little tone, and then I shall take it on to the 20 seconds and show you what that does. Did I say 20 seconds? I meant 10 seconds. And there is the first beep on the 30. So let's see what it does when it gets to the last 10 seconds. Yes, I've got it right this time. I'm still here, by the way. And here it comes. It's coming to the last 10 seconds. And that's it. That was cool though, wasn't it? I mean, how useful was that? And note that it is on the angry teeth there, and it will carry on repeating, and say up to 8 times. I keep mentioning that. But I also noticed something. When it gets to the last 10 seconds, the first 5 of those seconds, it has a different pitch tone. And when it gets to the last 5 seconds, it's a little bit deeper. So, and there's a beep again at 30 seconds. So let's sort of show that again. And also I want to show you that you can stop it while it's doing the little countdown beeps. And then when you start it, it will continue. So let's sort of just play this out from here because I'm so close. There we go. Ready? Listen to the tone. And then I can stop it. And when I start it, it continues. Now it's a different tone. Let's try it again. Listen. How amazing is that? I really do like that. Very impressed. So from timer, pressing the mode button, we have all the alarm notifications. So the first one is the signal, and you can turn the signal on by using the adjustment here. One little press and it comes up with the little icon there. And then by pressing it again, it turns it off, and note it makes a little beep. So by pressing button D here, it will shift over to the alarm. So you have alarm 1, you have alarm 2, and you have a snooze alarm. So 3 alarms in total, and then back to signal. So let me just give you a demonstration. So there's alarm 1. Say if you press the adjust button just the once, it will give a little chirp and it will turn the alarm on like so, and then you can turn it off as well. So when you come to adjust the alarm, it will automatically turn the alarm on, and then you flash with the hour side there, and you can use the up and down like that. Again, if you're adjusting it at night, you have to put it on auto light, and then you can adjust the hours. Don't need to give you a demonstration of that, but at the moment this is set at a daily alarm, so it'll go off every 24 hours at midnight. But if I was to press the mode button again, I now have this little option here. So this is set as a daily alarm. Now if I was to press button D there, I now can adjust the month, and that is on January. So if I set the alarm like this, every day in January the alarm will go off at midnight. How cool is that? And then pressing the adjustment there, I can go backwards. Now if I press the mode button, I can skip to the actual date. So on the 1st of every month, the alarm will go off at midnight. That is really genius, but it goes further than that, because I can actually set it. Say I had it on the 30th. Let's just go back there. Now take a note of this date here. You can write it down, you can freeze frame it. This is September the 30th, or the 30th of September, depending where you are in the world. And this is my birthday. So every year at midnight on the 30th of September, the alarm will go off to remind me I'm a little bit older. Anyway, how amazing is that? Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, hang on, I haven't finished yet. So pressing the adjustment, that is set the alarm like so, and let's turn it off. So if I go to the snooze side, because we want to see what it looks like, if I press the adjustment, turning the alarm on, you can see that it has the little snooze. Now the snooze will go off for 7 times, and it will repeat itself after every 5 minutes. And when it goes into the snooze and you've pressed a button to sort of snooze it, then the little snooze icon there will start flashing. And the only way to turn it off is to go into the alarm, go to snooze and press adjust to turn it off. Well, I haven't completely finished. So when you're in the alarm still, and it doesn't matter if you're on the snooze or the alarm, if you press button D with a long press, you'll get a little alarm demo. Like that. Now I'm finished. And from alarm, pressing the mode button, it will come up with HT, which is home time, and you are back here. And that is the... oh, it's not quite finished. There's still more. You bored yet? This is going to be the one that sort of... I think you're going to be really impressed with it. Well, I was. So let's go back into the adjustment and let's flip through. So far is all very well. And then we will get to this one. You remember? LT. Now, if I press button D here, I have sync. What does this do? Well, let me give you a demonstration in timer. Hang on. Did you just see that? When I pressed the mode button, it came up with alarm sync. Now, this only works when it has an alarm. So, no sync. World time, no sync. Stopwatch, it has sync. Then it has timer sync. What does this actually do? Well, let's do a little demo on this. So let's start this off down to the last sort of 20 seconds. I'm going to have to turn the lights off for this. Was that good or what? You're not sure, are you? So while we're still in the stealthy darkness, let me just show you what it looks like in this stopwatch. Now, if I just press that countdown here, now watch this. Oh, it just gets better. Look at that. Just beeping away because I've still got the timer going. That's why. That is incredible. There you go. Look, see, the timer's still ticking away. So I'll stop that. And it also does it in the alarm mode as well. It'll give the flashing screen. Now, let me just show you the one last thing it can do. And this is with regards to the mute side. So when you have this in mute and you have it synced, that means it won't have the tone. It will just flash with the backlight. So you can go very stealthy indeed. So in normal G-Shocks, or quite the new ones, when you're through the mode, say you're in the world time, with a long press on the mode, this normally takes you back to home time. Where in this case, this is going to turn the mute on. So with a long press, it makes a little chirp, and then you have the little icon down there. So, well, we're in the stopwatch, so I might as well give you a demonstration here. So if I stop it now, notice that it doesn't make the chirp, and I can reset that. And if I go through the modes, that very stealthy. So with a long press of a few seconds, wasn't that long, it turns the mode off, that sort of snooze. Not snooze, the mute. Well, it is sort of snoozing, I guess. Anyway, that is all the features and functions and the quirks covered. You weren't expecting all that, were you? You weren't, were you? You really weren't, even though it's out of focus. So what are your impressions on this GLX 5600? Are you taken away? Is it your new square G-Shock that you are now tippy-tapping on eBay and looking for some deals? Now, I did get a good deal on this, and they're not going cheap, being that it is battery operated, not solar, and it doesn't have multi-band 6. It does mean that you're almost going to get 10 years battery life out of them. Well, with all those little gadgets and quirks, I think you're probably only going to get a few weeks out of them. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that these are very practical. They are very designed perfectly for everyday use. If you like the G-LIDE or the Glide on there, then you are going to be super happy. Like me, I'm not too sort of into that name, but hey, is all forgiving because the watch itself actually does have some amazing functions and features. Anyway, that is the time from the Stormtrooper and from the Imperial Stormtrooper. I think it is. I'm not too much of a Star Wars freak, but anyway, that is the times. That is the flashing times. And as always, thanks for watching.
You